This is my presentation on Zachary Taylor, the 12th President of the United States. Zachary Taylor was born November 21, 1784, near Bourbonsville, Virginia. He was raised on a tobacco plantation outside Louisville, Kentucky. He only received little education, but he had got much training in farming and using a musket. In 1808, he left the home because he was obtaining a commission as a first lieutenant in the Army. 1810, he became married to Margaret Macnell Smith, having 6 children. They make their home near Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Taylor helped with policing against the Native Americans. He commanded the troops in the Black Hawk War of 1832 and also in the Second of Seminole War in Florida, going from 1837 to 1840, when the U.S. annexation of Texas sparked against Mexico. He became promoted to Major General. Taylor earned his nickname, Old Rough and Ready, from his willingness to get his boots dirty alongside his men. President Polk had ordered him to stay in northern Mexico, but he disobeyed him, and in 1847 he marched his troops south of Buena Vista with the artillery he had and defeated the Mexican force that was 3 times the size of his army. This led to his popularity of being the hero of the Mexican-American War. He took his office as president, and in 1849, and the biggest challenge in his term was the second sectional debate over the slavery and his expansion into the country's new territories. In this year, in the war, made him became strongly against slavery. So this outraged the slave advocates. July 4th, 1850, Taylor attended a ceremony at the unfinished Washington Monument and the temperatures were blistering. And this caused him to eat only raw vegetables, cherries, and milk, which he complained of terrible stomach cramps, and they had found out many years later that he had been poisoned, and he died on July 9th of acute gastritis.
No, she's not.
President Millard Fillmore was the 13th president. He was born in Finger Lakes Country in 1800. At 15, he was an apprentice to a cloth dresser. He attended one schoolrooms and fell in love with his teacher, Abigail Powers, who later became his wife. He was elected vice president in 1848. He became president in 1850 after President Taylor's death. Fillmore was vice president from 1849 to 1850. Then he became president in July 9th and ended his presidency on March 4th, 1853.
Get well soon.
During his vice presidency, Fillmore and Taylor disagreed on the slavery issue in the new Western territories taken from Mexico in the Mexican-American War. Taylor wanted the new states to be free states, while Fillmore supported slavery in those states to appease the South.
James Buchanan, the 15th president. Buchanan was the only president from Pennsylvania to remain a bachelor. He was the son of 2 Irish immigrants, Elizabeth and James Buchanan. He was born in Cove Gap, Pennsylvania on April 23, 1791, in a cabin. Buchanan entered Dickinson College at the age of 16, where he was almost suspended for bad behavior. After finally graduating in 1809, Buchanan moved to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to study law. After studying law, he enlisted in the military at the start of the War of 1812, where he participated in the defense of Baltimore. At the age of 23, he was elected as a House member of the Federalist Party to the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. When Andrew Jackson was elected for his second term, he appointed Buchanan as his envoy to Russia. When Buchanan returned back to the U.S., he won a seat in the Senate as a Democrat, where he held this position for 10 years. One of the 3 major events that went on during Buchanan's presidency was the Pony Express. The second was the Southern states began session. The third was the forming of the Confederate States of America.
Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president, serving from March 1861 until he was assassinated in April 1865. Before Lincoln became president, he bought a small general store on credit in New Salem, and he was also a lawyer. Abraham's biggest accomplishment was he led the United States to the greatest military and moral crisis, American Civil War, and was also the one to abolish slavery. Abraham was the first American president to be assassinated. His assassination took place on Good Friday, April 14, 1865, as the American Civil War was drawing to a close. John Booth was the one who was behind the whole thing and originally only planned to kidnap him, but as we all know, didn't happen. He is also the man on the $5 bill. He is also one of the presidents to have his own monument in Washington, D.C. Last but not least, he was also one of the first presidents to sport a beard while serving in office.
Andrew Johnson, he was the 17th President of the United States. As a child, Johnson had two siblings, his brother William and sister Elizabeth. At the age of 15, him and his brother ran away. When he got older, he had a successful tailoring business in Greensville, Tennessee. Him, his wife, and kids lived in Greensville. He was a Democrat. He was a member of the House of Representatives. He was the 15th governor of Tennessee. He was the military governor of Tennessee. And the 16th vice president. He negotiated the price of Alaska from Russia. He protected the powers of the executive branch. He created new federal civil rights. He was nominated as vice president under Abe Lincoln. He signed the Civil Rights Bill. My name is Carly Seacrest.
This is the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. Grant was born April 27, 1822 in Point Pleasant, Ohio. After graduating at West Point, he was shipped out to fight in the Mexican-American War, being a subordinate under General Zachary Taylor. Though he commanded many battles, his greatest achievement was the Battle of Vicksburg, spanning from December of 1862 to July 4th of 1863. Many historians say that Grant did little in his presidency. The fact is, those historians are right. But what he did do was that he passed the 15th Amendment and he passed the Enforcements Act. Those prohibited federal or state governments from denying a citizen the right to vote based on race, color, or previous conditions of servitude. After that, he later suspended habeas corpus, which severely crippled the KKK's power. During his presidency, there were some major events. In 1873, there was a panic because several railroad companies collapsed and the stock market crashed. This became known as the Panic of 1873. Another event that had taken place was the Gilded Age. This was an era of enormous growth in the north and the western areas of the United States. This lasted from 1865 to 1918.
19th President Rutherford B. Hayes. And became a major general before he was released because he got a severe wound from the war. After graduating from one college, Rutherford B. Hayes furthered his education by attending Harvard Law, where he received his law degree. Hayes' election was known for being a very controversial one. Some bills he signed and acts he passed were the Timber and Stone Act, Desert Land Act, the Tidewater Act, Bland and Allison Act, and the Compromise of 1877. He also was known. He was there for the Railroad Strike Act, where people who worked on the railroad walked out off the job because they were unhappy with the recent pay cuts.
The 20th President is James Abram Garfield. A couple of Garfield's accomplishments include energizing U.S. naval power and advocated a bimetal monetary system, agricultural technology and an educated electorate, and civil rights for African Americans. Garfield was assassinated, therefore his presidency lasted just 200 days.
Chester Arnold, a Republican from New York, was the 21st President of the United States. Before his career in politics, he was a teacher and a school principal. He also served as a quartermaster general for the U.S. Army during the Civil War. He was elected Vice President in 1880, and later, after the death of former President James Garfield, he became President. During his presidency, he signed the Pendleton Act, which required all government jobs to be distributed based on merit. After his first term, he did not run for re-election due to poor health, and 1 year and 8 months after leaving office, he died.
Number 22, President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland is the only president in U.S. history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in the White House. Cleveland was the only Democrat elected president during the era of Republican domination that lasted more than 50 years, from 1860 to 1912. Cleveland lost his re-election bid in 1888 to Ben Harrison. Cleveland won the popular vote but lost the electoral vote. Cleveland came in the first term as a bachelor and married during it, becoming the first president to get married in the White House. The Clevelands began having children shortly after they got married. Their first child, Ruth, was born during Harrison's term and died at the age of 12. Curtis's Candy Shop dedicated its candy bar, Candy Cake, to Ruth, called it Baby Ruth.